Purse Strings offers an available for hire network of vetted professionals who specialize in serving women. When you have a life event that has suddenly made money a priority, you can now move forward with a whole new confidence that you're getting advice and services from savvy professionals who are uniquely equipped to serve your needs. Go to pursestrings.co and use our directory of handpicked financial professionals when you're ready to plan for retirement, navigate divorce, buy your next home, fire up your new business, and more. Go to pursestrings.co or check the link in the show notes. Now you can be financially fearless.
Thank you, fearless listeners, and go you for hitting play. Please like and subscribe as it helps us grow. Also, share this with a friend as we have to keep talking about this shit. Now let's dive in.
Coming up on today's edition of Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about, our guest is Ellen Rogin.
Ellen Rogin has some pretty amazing titles: abundance activist, financial intuitive, prosperity expert. I mean, it's not your typical financial professional.
Cool, right? Ellen was a financial professional but sold her practice to help financial professionals now learn how to grow their practices. And she has all this experience with money intuitiveness.
I cannot wait to dive into these topics, so let's get started.
Gloria Steinem once said, "We will never solve the feminization of power until we solve the masculinity of wealth." Barbara Provost and Maggie Nielsen are the team at Purse Strings that will help you navigate the ins and outs of financial independence so that you can be financially fearless. This is Women in Money, the shit we don't talk about.
Ellen, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. We're so curious about the gifts you bring to the topic of money and can't wait to dive in. But before we do, please share with our listeners a little bit about yourself.
For many years, I was a traditional financial advisor. I actually came out of public accounting. And what was so interesting to me right from the start of my practice was how people thought about money, how people could have tons of money and be nervous all the time. Other people had more modest means and maybe felt really comfortable and joyful in their life. And I realized that that contentment, happiness level had nothing to do with how much money someone had. And I really became a student of this over the years that I had my practice. I've written several books along the way. And part of the reason that I sold my practice was because I really felt like I had a bigger reach I wanted to have in the world. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit later, but it brings me to this place now where every day I wake up so excited about sharing information with people to have them have a better relationship with their money, including financial advisors.
Wonderful. Well, we've heard you talk about how people have relationship with money. So can we explore that a little bit? What do you mean by a relationship with money?
We're brought up with attitudes, beliefs, ways we are around money that are formed actually at an age much earlier than we can possibly imagine. Dr. Bruce Lipton, who's a cellular biologist, says that we start to develop our subconscious beliefs most of them between conception and age 7. And that includes our money beliefs. So parents are usually like, when their kids get to high school, oh, I have to help them figure out how to handle money, or when they go off to college. And actually, right from the start, your kids are developing their beliefs about money from what they see, what they hear, and it develops really a relationship with money. I think the thing that is a helpful metaphor for people is to realize the relationship goes both ways. So I don't think it's that big of a stretch for people to think, oh yeah, I have a relationship with money, I'm nervous about it, or I'm really confident, or I'm a good decision maker, or it's hard for me to make decisions. But I don't think they think about it from the other side. And if you were to make money like a person, anthropomorphize, there we go, money, and look at it like any other relationship you have in your life, and think about, well, if money were an energetic entity, which I actually believe it is, but if that's not part of your beliefs, if you just make this a metaphor, how are you being in your relationship with money? if you make it like a romantic relationship or a friendship, how are you being with money instead of just wanting it to be like a certain way with you? I just wrote a blog about money wants more than a hookup with you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because I think that we think like you can be a user. Like it's great as long as it's there for me. I don't trust it. I don't expect it to be there for you. And so this, I think, is really helpful for people to start to think about, okay, how are you on both sides?
I like that a lot. And I've read, a different article before that's, talk about it like it's your best friend. You're not shit talking your best friend when she's not in the room. You're always like, wow, I'm so lucky to have them in my life. They're always there for me. They're always there and supportive, which I kind of feel like is, this thought that you're bringing to us right now.
Yeah. And to take a real, I suggest people look at it in kind of 4 different areas. So first of all, being aware, and just like you're saying, Maggie, that like, how are you talking about money? What are you thinking about? And it takes us to slow down sometimes to be aware of what we're thinking and saying about our money. I want to go to the other 3 areas, but I just want to pause here and see if either of you know what the word abracadabra actually translates into. We know it like from magic.
I don't think I do. Do you, Maggie?
No, I just thought it was like a little magician. I thought only magicians knew.
It kind of is magic. It has Hebrew and Aramaic roots, and it translates into I will create as spoken.
Wow.
I will create as spoken. So our words really matter in everything, including your relationship with money. So yes, it matters how you speak about it. And in to just really be a friend. I'm not a big believer in saying things you absolutely don't believe, an affirmation that you just say over and over when you really don't believe it, because then I think the thought behind it is that's bullshit. Like, I don't believe that. But you could say things that are a little bit more gentle. I'm learning to trust my relationship with money if you're really in an untrusting place, for example. So that's the first step, is aware. The second step is clear. And this is about envisioning, having a vision of where you want your relationship to be. What would it look like if you were to accomplish your goals and have this beautiful relationship with money? So start to think about what that would be, and then actually use the power of your mind for visualizing how you would like it to be. Mental rehearsal, really a powerful tool in business. And I don't think people think about it that way. But before I have any big meeting, before our conversation today, if you're giving a big presentation, I find it so helpful to envision exactly how you want things to play out, how you want other people to experience it. Of course, we can't control that, but why not put the intention, how you want them to feel or react to this, what you want the outcome to be. So aware, clear, and then care is the third step. This is the practical thing. I know that we live in a material world with money, and we live in an ethereal world. We're talking more today about the ethereal part of the magic part of it, our relationship with money. Practically, you have to take care of your money. Mm-hmm. It wants it to take care of you, for you to take care of it. It'd be like people that really ignore it or put it off. It'd be like if you're a mom and you have kids and you're like, here, caregiver, you just take care of our kid and I'll check in maybe in 10 years and see how it does. Like that wouldn't work, right? Now, it doesn't mean you can't get help with it. I'm a former financial advisor. I'm a big believer in getting professional advice, and you need to be paying attention. You need to take actionable steps. So that's care, aware, clear, care. And the last part is share. And this is being generous with your money. If you hang on too tightly to what you have, you imagine clenching fists and like, oh, I'm not going to be okay, hanging on so tightly, it's impossible to receive. On the other hand, if you're always giving, that doesn't work either. And sometimes people feel guilty about having money, or it's not okay and they have to give it all away. I think there's a responsibility, a give and take part with that.
Those areas are so interesting to focus on. And as I'm listening to you, Ellen, I'm thinking about how women are given such poor money messages as they're growing up, and continue to get, poor money messages. How have you seen that impact women in terms of their relationship with money?
I can share my own experience with that. And I'm very grateful I started to explore my money personality, my money messages right at the start of my career. So I started as a financial advisor, I think it was about 27 or 28 when I had my own business, and started to explore this and realized I had an unexamined belief that it was my husband's job to make the money, and further, I probably couldn't do it, which didn't make any logical sense, right? I had a lot of letters after my name, an MBA, CPA, CFP, EIEIO, all these professional designations. Yet I had that belief because that's what I saw growing up. But my parents were very encouraging. It's not like they said, oh, Ellen, you can't do that. But what I saw was dad go off to work, mom stay home with me. Sometimes my mom asking my dad for money. Oh, if it was a bigger expense, I'll have to ask dad if that's okay. She would ask him for checks. I mean, things that my husband never expected and I never did, yet it was playing in the background.
Yeah, that was woven into your whole upbringing. I mean, I think we see that all the time.
And what can happen is if you don't take it from the subconscious to examine it, then it's just playing in the background. It didn't take years of therapy to realize that was a belief that didn't even make sense. I just had to go, oh, like that is ridiculous. And then I could get rid of it. It just disappeared once I examined it. And I think back, if I hadn't realized that that was playing in the background, I don't think I would have been as successful as I was in my practice, written books, served as many people as I have, because I would have thought, oh, I can't do that. It's someone else's job to do that.
Well, it's just so funny how, it's been sitting there forever and one day it just comes forward and then you're like, oh, it wasn't even that much to process. You just had to bring it to the light. It's not like you said, it's nothing intensive. It's just, it's been there all the time. But one day, somebody put a flashlight on it and you're like, oh, you're right. Okay, I see that now.
And that's why I think we challenge women to be what we say is financially conscious. Just being clear and really giving it some thought and listening to podcasts like this and thinking, I never even thought about the money messages that I was given or what plays around in my head or what my assumptions are around money. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation to kind of drum up some of those thoughts and let people noodle on this a little bit and really reflect and say, what are my money messages that I'm carrying with me, and are they true?
I love that term, financially conscious, because it gives respect and credence and being deliberate about it, your relationship. And it doesn't have to be hard to do that either. Just even thinking like, what was my first money memory? What was it like growing up with money in my house? Was it talked about, not talked about? What did I see? And this is not to blame your parents, right? Because you could have siblings in the same house and have totally different interpretation of what it was like to grow up in their house or how they've used that as an adult to form their money habits.
Yeah, it's all just so interesting, the way those things lay out. We always talk to women and, with couples, if you always saw your parents fight about money, you might just start arguing when you talk about money, realizing we don't even need to be arguing. There's nothing to argue about. That's just the tone I'm used to talking about money in. So it's just recognizing some of those different aspects that we're so used to just hearing out in the world.
And I think that's why a lot of people don't have financial discussions, is because they find it difficult. They find it hard. They find it stressful. Their memories are not positive ones. And so they just disregard it, which is so unfortunate.
Yeah. And it's so important. And it doesn't have to be that way. We think sometimes our beliefs are the water we swim in and we just assume they're true. And it's just a thought we've thought over and over. And if someone else is having a different experience they have a great relationship with their partner with money, then it's obviously possible. It's not like it has to be that way.
Right, right. And so you have such a traditional financial background from, a CPA, then a CFP. How did you realize your intuitive skills? And then how did you begin to communicate with your money?
In my practice, I think I always had intuitive skills, but didn't realize that was what was happening. People would leave my office and just exhale and go, I feel so much better. So at some level, I knew how to shift things for them or how to communicate in a way to calm the money angst down. But I had an experience when it was about a year before I left my practice. I was at a workshop and we were working on some intuitive skills. I was partnered with a guy named James, and the facilitator said we were supposed to think about a money issue. There was a topic before this that was on relationships, and this was money. So James was thinking about a money issue. I had my hands on his shoulders behind him, and then he was to turn around and I was to deliver a message. And all of a sudden, out of my mouth comes, "Fuck you for thinking that you can't be spiritual and have me in your life," as if I was talking for money. And he pulls out from his shirt, he goes, "Ellen, oh my gosh, this is the patron saint of poverty. One of my clients gave me this necklace," pulls it out and takes it off. And all of a sudden I grab his hand and walk beside him and said, "Oh, now I want to be with you." Now, when this was all over, both of us were a little bit like, what just happened? I like a good swear. I don't do it at people, and certainly not in a professional setting and not with people I don't really know. And after that, I started to really explore, like, what was it? I was talking on behalf of money.
Wow.
So I started to play with that a little bit. And over the years, my process now is basically, I believe there's kind of like a bat phone to money that we can all have, but I've kind of honed that skill. I journal with money for my guidance on behalf of people I teach and on behalf of people I work one-on-one with, just to deliver messages that if you could talk to money, what would you want to know and what would it have to say back?
Now I'm just like dying to dive in there, just personally.
Yeah. That seems, like you say, it's kind of woo-woo. What kind of reaction do you get from people when you talk about that?
Well, to be honest, I was very cautious about talking about it with people for quite a long time. I remember when I told you, Barb, about it, I was like, it was me like trying out, like, hey, I have this background, I do all this other training, and I do intuitive money readings. And what I found is that the people that this resonates with lean in, and the other people, they don't even know what I'm talking about, and we start talking about something else.
Yeah.
You know, I've had an identity of a CFP, CPA for so many years. And as part of that, even through my practice, I felt like I had to be a little bit, I had a professional suit on, whether I was actually dressed like that or not, so that, you know, helping people with their money, I didn't want them to think I was not serious or credible. Now what I'm realizing is, first of all, lots of people are open to these ideas, more than I would have expected. And for me to do my best work in the world, I kind of have to get past myself about worrying about that to be of service with people.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have to kind of step out on a skinny limb, if you will, to really do what our mission is in life, right? And sometimes it doesn't resonate with others, but those that it does resonate with, those are the people you want to hang with a little bit. So how do you think you have these special skills? Are they special powers, or do you think anybody can do this?
Well, I think we all have intuitive skills. I'm actually teaching a class later today about intuition in business. I think that we don't listen to them often or trust them.
Mm-hmm.
We also need to be really quiet to hear them. So I've been a long-time meditator, 17, 18 years. And I think that the more quiet you can get, the easier it is to hear your own good intentions, your own internal wisdom, your own intuition. My ability to do it with money, or the energy with money, probably comes from all these years of doing that professionally. I know anybody can do that. We can all get messages from money. It's a matter of being quiet and asking for that intuition, listening, and then practicing as well. I think that lack of trust, it's a muscle to build, to listen to your intuition. And the more you can listen to those intuitive hits, the easier it is to grow that skill. So one way that's helpful, and I'm just talking in general, but it could be in your business, it could be with your money, is to just practice with simple things like, you're going for a walk. Should I turn right or left? And just feel into that. you're driving home from wherever you're going, most of us have different ways we can come. I'll often just be like, oh no, I should take this way home or that way. Once in a while, I'll realize that I missed a freight train keeping me stuck. Sometimes I have no idea if it was better or shorter or longer, but I'm just flexing that muscle to build it.
I always feel like you have to intuitively let, whoever's out there know that you're listening, know that you're open to this. But it's new from, school where everything's back with logic and facts and books and history, and it's like there's something factual and true about your gut or that gut feeling, but it is different learning to trust that and learning to be like, there's no logic, rhyme, or reason behind it, but I know it's right. And it's hard to justify to someone else sometimes, but you just have to really trust that.
And to know, and intuition just means knowing something without knowing how you know it. And for years, business leaders, scientists have always done this. They just haven't talked about it. And, our heart wisdom is really strong, and so is our gut wisdom. And it communicates to your brain. It's not always the other way around. And so, Maggie, you're 100% right. The more you can lean into it and trust it and not think it's such crazy, mystical, only special for certain people kind of things, the more you'll be able to tap into it.
We're all special kind of things. I mean, it's all pretty amazing. So we are all special anyways. So that's why it's coming through.
Agreed.
And so a lot of people we always hear have worry and anxiety around money issues. That's like the most common. And so, why is this such a problem, do you think, after working through all these people?
It's a problem if we go with some research around it. There's a book called Scarcity, and the researchers did research all around the world. And what they found is when people's backs are really up against the wall with money and they have high financial anxiety, your IQ actually drops. So you're unable to make good decisions. So you have to have a way of dealing with it. And that's why people, when they're really stressed, do kind of stupid things with money, or they're forced to do things that they feel like they're forced to do things that don't make sense. So practically, it's a problem. Money tells me all the time when I'm doing consultations with people that have high money worry to stop it. It doesn't make it better. It feels like you're doing something or that you can't not be like that. But whether you worry or not, you're in the same situation. And without the worry, you might be able to hear your own good intentions. Oh, maybe I should reach out to so-and-so, or perhaps I should try this. When we can quiet that worry down, it can help you find solutions to sometimes seemingly unsolvable problems.
That's interesting. I think sometimes when I worry about money, I think if I don't worry about it, then I'm taking my mind off of it, and then I will lose that thought that I need to focus on it. So by worrying on it, I'm focused on it. And then I say to myself, Barb, this is not serving you. Nothing is going to change because you're worried about it. So I totally get that.
Yeah. And I think there is a little bit of benefit then if someone's worried, maybe they save more, they're a better, more conscious spender, but you can do those things from a less anxious place of I'm going to spend based on what my values are, or I'm saving for this goal that I either know what it is down the road or something shorter term without that static of the worry there.
I feel like there's so much, as humans, we've been in that fight or flight syndrome. And I feel like we bring that a lot to money and bring that angst around there because we don't have, we're not running from lions and wolves anymore. But we just carry that anxiety around the money where, if we do back up, the clouds clear and we can see some ideas out there.
For sure.
And again, I think with women, the bag lady syndrome, women always think they're going to become a bag lady. Women are pressured a lot. They worry a lot about money. All the stats will tell you that. There's a lot of pressure and anxiety around it. But how can someone break free from all that money anxiety? What are some tips? We talked about a few things, but what else would you suggest?
I'll give several suggestions here. One, if we go back to these beliefs that have been playing around in our mind, once we start to uncover them, if you catch yourself saying something you don't want to have happen with money, even joking about it, one of my favorite strategies for that is to say, cancel, clear. Cancel that thought, clear it away, and replace it with something instead. And so I'm very aware of words people use about things. I was just doing a consultation for someone who's starting a new business, and he said, you don't need a lot you don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money. And that served him well because he's been living very modestly for the last bunch of years. But starting a business, if you keep saying you don't need a lot of money, it might not be the thing that's going to generate the revenues for him and his partners. So it could be that, cancel, clear, and you replace it with something instead. I'm using my money as a force for good in the world, or I'm very conscious with how I use money, or something that feels right. So cancel, clear is one of my favorite ones. Actually, meditation. People don't talk about it as a financial strategy. And there's so many ways, different ways you can meditate. And so many tools available now. I make the analogy, it's kind of like working out. There's not one right way of doing it. It could be, do you like Zumba or do you like to play tennis? Do you run or would you rather cycle? So you can watch your breath. You can do walking meditation. Sometimes people, long distance runners, feel meditative benefits from running. It can be just taking a few conscious breaths. It doesn't have to be sitting for 20 minutes twice a day. Cool if you do that. And it can be just breaks during the day. One of my favorite definitions of mindfulness is noticing. So if you and anyone listening to this just looks around where you're at right now and notice something you haven't noticed in a while. And there's always something because we get blind to things. We're always in our heads versus being right here. So meditation is a great way, and learning. Sometimes we have anxiety about things because we just need to learn more. And there's so many resources. There's financial coaches that can walk you through the process. There's Google. If there's a term you don't know, there's no real excuse for being confused about it. Just Google it and you'll find some hopefully wonderful, some answer to understand a term better.
Wow, those are all really great tips. And yeah, I'm trying to think about how I apply them all in my life. Oh, you have one more? Let's hear it.
One more. And this leads to that share part of that four-part process. A really lovely way to reduce financial anxiety is to loosen your grip and help somebody else. So when you donate money to someone, whether it's a charity you get, if you're in the US, you might get a tax deduction, or it could be a family member, or just someone you see in need out in the world. When you donate money, there's something called subjective wealth, which basically tells your brain, I must be wealthy if I'm able to do this. So giving $500 gives you the same buzz as getting a $10,000 raise. It helps reduce our worries and our anxiety. The dirty little secret about giving is we do it because it feels so good.
Yeah. And it's all about flow, right? Money flow, cash flow. I love that term because, and I think you taught me this, Ellen, money isn't to be held on to and, get stagnant with. It's to really flow in and out, because it should go round and round. And there's lots of money going around the world every single minute of the day, and it will flow into you and it will flow out for other things. So I like that concept, that idea of sharing and giving.
My one question I, wanted to bring up always around the giving is I feel like women always give a lot of money and feel that if they have a lot of money come to them, they have to keep giving more, to all these other people. And so how do you kind of set that boundary of I'm going to give, but I'm also going to make sure there's enough for myself?
Yeah, I would say some women versus all women always do this, because I think it can be, is in general, if we're generalizing, women tend to use their money to support other people. They've seen this globally, so that's cool. And one way to put some structure around this is to give a percentage. And whether you're trying to give more or not give too much. So just as the listeners are going to have heard before, to pay yourself first or to take money off the top, I really love the idea of taking money off the top for sharing. Again, to wherever you want that to go. The cool thing about a percentage is as your income goes up, you proportionally give more. And as it goes down, if it were to, then you give an appropriate amount. Mm-hmm. My suggestion is you take this percentage off the top and you just put it into a separate account to then consciously decide how you're going to give it. The account could be money market or savings account. If you're giving lots of money, it could be something fancier like a donor advised fund or something you might want to talk to your financial advisor about. What I found is when you take it from your checking account into the separate account, it also feels different for giving it. It's not like you're losing money. It's like you're deliberately deciding where it should go.
I like that. I like that with the whole separate account. That's very smart, Ellen. So then, Ellen, how do you work with people with your messages from money offering?
I do consultations with people that want to have a better relationship with their money, perhaps clear out something that's a limit for them or a block, or get more clarity on something that's going on in their business. And the way I do this is I get some information up front from them. I spend time before our session journaling with money, and then we meet and I deliver the messages from money. What I found is that during these sessions, we pause and have conversations about whether money has questions for them or an idea comes up. And it's in those discussions that people tend to have big ahas, perhaps a new business idea, knowing how to price things. It depends on where someone's at. The sessions are all different based on what somebody needs. I've been doing this for several years now, and what is constantly amazing to me is the transformation that happens, because it's not like my left brain financial planning where I'd be like, oh, I'm showing you how much you need to save for retirement. But I get reports back, sometimes within a few days, months, from people like things have shifted for them. One woman who was always worried about money, really coming from a scarcity place, something shifted and she got more clear, sitting in a place of abundance. And within a few days after that, a lawsuit that she'd been working on for years, she almost forgot about, got settled, and huge inflow came to her. Someone else who I talked to years later, I didn't even realize this happened. She said, oh, Ellen, after I talked to you, I realized I was so clearly not charging enough for my services. And we do such a great job for our clients. She's a health coach, and so much value. And I realized if I don't charge them more, they're not going to value and do the work. And I'm charging 5 times as much. My clients are getting huge amounts of value and my business is excelling.
Wow.
So it really depends on where somebody is at for the benefits that they would receive.
And are these typically just the one session?
Often it's the one session. Sometimes people come back a year or so later if there's something up for them. This is how I started to realize that these were really impactful, because after the first year, my business mind was like, oh, I should reach back out to people and see if they want to meet again. And a few of them did. And many of them said, I'm good. Like, I used to worry, I'm not worried anymore, or things have shifted. So it's often just that one session. Sometimes some of those people want to come back to a class that I'm leading or something else to figure out how to use these tools more in their own lives.
Awesome. So as we wrap up here, a couple of things. What are any parting thoughts or tips that maybe we haven't covered that you want to share? And also, we want to learn more about your upcoming book that's coming out.
Thank you. The biggest thing I want to share, and just reiterate this again, is that generosity precedes prosperity. If there's nothing else you take away from this, is that when you loosen your grip on money, things will flow back to you. And it helps in business too. Like, who are you serving? If you're worried about that next client or sale, instead of focusing on that, focus on who needs me now, who needs me more than ever. So that would be my last thought. Generosity precedes prosperity. And thank you for asking. I'm super excited. I have a book coming out this fall called Messages from Money: Stress Less, Prosper More, and Reshape Your Relationship with Money. My other 2 books, I had amazing co-authors. This book I co-wrote with Money. So it was really somewhat of a downloaded book. Money wrote the foreword for me. And yeah, I'm really excited. It goes through that 4-part model. The first part talks about scarcity and abundance, and I have a beautiful way of kind of explaining how that works. And the second part of the book are practices to put these ideas into action in your life to see a shift.
Well, we are definitely excited to get a copy of that because this conversation was already wonderful. So I can't wait to dive into the book as well. Ellen is one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you can check her out on our site, pursestrings.co. But where else is a great way for people to reach out to you, Ellen?
Yeah, if you go to ellenrogin.com, that's ELLENROGIN.com. And if you go to ellenrogin.com/goodies, you can actually download a copy of my first book, Great with Money. And there's all sorts of other meditative resources and other books that I love there. So those are all free. And also you can connect with me wherever. I tend to be on LinkedIn a lot. That's where I hang out a little bit more than some of the other social places.
Awesome. Well, this has been just a yummy conversation. It's been unique and different, and one that people, I think, will really love listening to and take away some great ideas and reframing around money. So they have no more stress or anxiety about money, but money can be your best friend. And with that, Ellen, thank you. And thanks for everyone for listening. And remember to be financially fearless.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.
Purse Strings offers an available for hire network of vetted professionals who specialize in serving women. When you have a life event that has suddenly made money a priority, you can now move forward with a whole new confidence that you're getting advice and services from savvy professionals who are uniquely equipped to serve your needs. Go to pursestrings.co and use our directory of handpicked financial professionals when you're ready to plan for retirement, navigate divorce, buy your next home, fire up your new business, and more. Go to pursestrings.co or check the link in the show notes. Now you can be financially fearless.